Hi, welcome back, and thank you for joining me in the second segment of this three-part webinar about mastering your emotions. In this segment, we're going to talk about the 10 action signals of your emotions. So, thinking back to the last segment, those 6 steps that you've just discovered, you can now master most of your emotions by working out how to understand them, etc., etc. But if you really wanted to get maximum benefit from each emotion, it would be most beneficial if you were able to take the 10 most common emotions, to understand their meaning, and then to understand the actual message that they're giving you, and then a solution that you can use for each of those 10 common emotions. And that's what I'm going to start running through with you now, to raise your consciousness and your understanding of the powerful positive messages that you can receive from the majority of your major emotions. So let's begin with the most basic call to action, which is discomfort. Discomfort is an uncomfortable emotion with a very low intensity. It's more of a nagging, and it's a sensation that tells us something just isn't quite right, it doesn't fit, but you're not overly worried about it, but it's just there, it's just on the edge, tapping away, going, hello, something not quite right here. Now this could be in the form of boredom, impatience, unease, distress, or mild embarrassment. It's about your perceptions or your actions are not getting you the desired outcome. You know, you're 99% sure you're there, but you're just not getting it. So the solution to this is to really focus what it is you want. What is your desired outcome? Because with discomfort, it's the nagging feeling if you're not quite there, and that's probably because you're not totally focused on the solution or where you want to be. So really hone in, just say, right, I want to go over there. It's not a case of I want to go in that general direction. I want to go there. I want that there. Okay? And then as soon as you've got clarity on where you want to go, this is where you can then refine your actions and take a slightly different approach, and your discomfort will dissolve away straight away. All right? Because you'll know where you're going. You've got action and you're actually moving forward. The second emotion is fear. Okay? Fearful emotions include everything from low levels of concern to apprehension, anxiety, worry, fright, and even terror. So the message from fear is a very simple one. Okay? The fear is it's an anticipation that something is going to happen and you need to prepare for it. Okay? That's what fear is trying to tell us. Something is coming along and you need to prepare for it. So just like a Boy Scout, you need to start working out exactly what it is you need to prepare for. Okay, what actions do you need to take to be able to cope or to be able to change something about the outcome? The worst thing you can do with fear is to avoid it completely. Okay, if you were to ignore it, it wouldn't go away. It just gets stronger. Okay, and don't wallow in it either. Okay, wallowing in it will do you no good. It will just continue to amplify it until you do something about it. So the solution really about fear is to review what it is you're feeling fearful about and evaluate what you must prepare to do. Okay, for example, I'm fearful of heights. I'm really scared of heights. You can ask anybody. They'll all tell you that I'm a bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to going the edge of near to the edge of buildings or looking out of windows and stuff like that, but I love the view. So what do? Well, I prepare myself. I say, okay, I've got to put myself into a situation where I'm not comfortable. Okay, I'm fearful of falling off or falling out of the window. So what do? Well, I've actually been known to lay on the edge of things and look over, so there's no risk of me actually falling over or losing balance, or I make sure that there's a wall, or I don't go near the edge. Okay, I have actually been tied onto things so that I can't fall off, and things like that. So that's how I prepare for my fear of heights. So I'm doing my Boy Scout thing and I'm preparing. So you need to figure out your actions, the best way, the preparation side of things. Sometimes though, all the preparation in the world will not cure you from your fear. Okay, you will still have that fear. Then you need to move to the antidote, which is faith. Have faith that you have prepared and you've done everything you can for the forthcoming situation, and there's nothing more you can do about it. Okay, when I say faith, I don't mean God and stuff like that. I mean have faith in yourself that you've done the best that you can and there is nothing more that you can do to be prepared for. However, if your fears do come to fruition, okay, you may experience hurt. So this feeling dominates human relationships, both personal and professional. Usually generated by a sense of loss, okay, that you've missed out on something, and a lot of people's reactions are to lash out when they're hurt, to say something or to do something just on the spur of the moment, just as a sort of knee-jerk reaction to say, I've had enough of this, you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. So the actual message that hurt is giving us is that an expectation has not been met. Okay? For example, you might have expected somebody to keep their word. You're talking to them about something that you think is sensitive and you expect them to keep their word, and then the next thing you hear them talking to somebody else, or you know that they've talked to somebody else, and that thing that you've been talking about has all of a sudden become general knowledge, and that's caused you hurt because you expected them to keep quiet and to maintain that confidentiality. So the solution is to realize that in reality you may not have lost anything at all. Maybe what you need to lose is your fear of a false perception. Reevaluate the situation. Ask yourself if really there is any loss here. So again, it's a bit like scratching a record. So you take a step back and you ask yourself, have I actually lost anything? Is there anything for me to feel hurt over? Maybe there is. Or maybe you've just jumped in too quickly. And I've certainly done that. I've jumped in with both feet before and gone, whoop, too early. Okay, so it could be that you're judging the situation too harshly or too quickly, or a combination of both. Another thing that you could do is, if you do feel hurt, is to stop it from happening again, is to discuss it with the individual or the group in a tactile way, and explain to them that you feel that you've got a sense of loss or a sense of hurt around this situation. Let's go back to the situation where they broke the confidentiality and said to somebody else. Now, if they understand the way that you're feeling, then you could actually maybe ask them to keep things like that confidential in future, and therefore it would address the situation and stop it from happening in the first place. So that's hurt. However, if you don't deal with your hurt, it will lead to anger. And we've all experienced anger in one form or another. Anger emotions include everything from being mildly irritated all the way up to being resentful, enraged, or furious. Okay? Now, the message of anger is an important one. It's important because a standard that you hold dearly has been breached or broken by another person or by you. So a standard that you may have, somebody could have just gone right over the top of it, not taken any notice of it, wasn't even aware that it was there, and you're really angry about it. Okay, you're furious. You're like, for God's sake, I can't believe they've done that. So when you received a message of anger, you need to understand that you can literally change it within a moment. Think back to the exercise that we did in the free session, where we were slumped down and then we stood up, and the different emotions that we experienced there. You can change it in a heartbeat, just like that. Okay? So you can do something about anger. Realize you may have interpreted this completely wrong. A bit like the hurt, you could have jumped in too soon. You need to slow down. You need to evaluate things before you fly off the handle. And you need to understand what it is. Your anger may be around a standard or a rule that's, the other person didn't even know existed, as I said. They might even not even know that you've got this standard or this rule. And they don't know the impact that it's had on you as an individual. It could also be that your rule that they've broken may not be justified in that situation. They may well fully understand it, but because the circumstances dictated, they still needed to go ahead and do that. So you need to get clarity on what it is. So if you ask yourself an empowering question, in the long term, is it true that this person really cares about me? Think of that when you're feeling next anger. Is the person who's causing me the anger doing it out of spite, or are they just unaware? And what you've done there is you've broken that cycle of thinking, and you're like, yep, okay, I'm not going to jump off at the deep end. I'm actually going to think, are they doing this to spite me, or are they just unaware? 9 times out of 10, they are just unaware. They don't understand. So asking questions like this will cause the interrupt, will scratch the record. Next question is, what can I learn from this? Again, we're going forward. We don't want to be making the same mistakes or feeling the same emotions, so we need to learn from each experience. So you need to ask yourself, what is it that I can learn from this? How could I communicate the importance of my rules and my standards more effectively? How could I actually get that individual to help me maintain those standards and rules that I've got that I feel really important? By bringing the other person on board and getting them to help you, you're actually getting them to take on your values and standards, and then to champion them and to keep them to the standard that you require, thus eliminating any chance that they would breach them again. Or if they needed to, they would probably discuss it with you first. For many, consistent anger or failure to be able to meet their own standards and rules will then lead to frustration. Frustration has been a big part of my life for a few years now, and whilst I've been learning about this, I've actually been able to flip it on its head and turn it around. It's been an amazing transformation for me personally to be able to do this, because frustration for me is a word that I can't get around. It's like a dead end. I get down the end of a corridor, there's nowhere else to go, I have to turn around and go back. So frustration can come from many avenues in your life. As I've just described, it's like going down a corridor with no doors. It's like hitting a roadblock or a brick wall or an obstacle. You can't get around it, you can't get over it, you can't get under it, you can't get through it, and you're constantly striving to achieve, but you keep hitting that same barrier. You're putting in all the effort in and you're getting no reward. And that's where you get frustrated. Now the message of frustration, believe it or not, is an exciting one. It's your brain telling you that you can do better than you currently are. It preconceives the idea that you're able to achieve what you want. It's almost within touching distance. You can almost reach out and touch it, but you're not quite there. But your brain's telling you can get there. And what it's saying to you is that you need to think of a new strategy, to brainstorm. You're not that far away. You just need to change things a little bit and you can get there. You need to get fresh input on how you can deal with a situation. So you, again, take a step back. Have a think about the situation. Is there a different way that I can approach it? Is there any source of information that I can use? Is there anybody else out there who's already achieved this? Maybe I could go and talk to them and they can tell me how they overcame their frustration or got around that obstacle. For me, the key was to get fascinated about the frustration. Why is it happening? What's going on? Is it my understanding? Is it my interpretation? I'll give you an example. I used to work with this guy who used to frustrate the living daylights out of me every day. And that was because he used to do things in completely different ways to the way that I did it. And we just like boom, 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 loggerheads all the time. So in my learning of this subject, I realised that I was frustrated. But if I became curious or fascinated about him, why does he do things the way he does? There must be a reason why he does it. And then over a period of time, I got to understand why he did things the way he did. And because I could understand, I could then develop and change my approach to work with him in a harmonious way. Because really, frustration just wasn't doing me any good. I was getting really frustrated and fed up, and I didn't want to be in that situation anymore. Something had to change. I couldn't change him, but I could change me. So that's what I did. I changed my approach, and I watched, and I listened, and I learned, and then I came up with a way around the wall, or over the wall, or under the wall. But I actually was able to do something about it. By using this skill, this will serve you not only today, but for the rest of your life. And I've used this skill over and over and over again with situations that frustrate me. And now as soon as I feel frustrated, I turn to fascinated, and within a couple of minutes, boom, I'm out of the frustration circle and things are moving forward. So it's great, and it will help you save so much time, energy, and effort in situations that you're so close to achieving, but just by changing the perception, by scratching a record, taking a step back, you can move forward rather than continually feeling frustrated. And the more frustrated you feel, the disappointment can be expressed if you don't get past your frustration in the emotion of disappointment. Disappointment can be a very destructive emotion if you don't deal with it quickly. It needs to be dealt with pretty much as soon as you feel it. Disappointment is a feeling about being let down, a devastation that you've missed out on something, not just in the short term, but forever. You've missed out on this thing forever. You're never going to get it. And anything that makes you feel sad or deflated as a result of expecting more than you're going to get is disappointment. Now, the message of disappointment is that an expectation or a goal or a desired outcome is probably not going to happen. So what you need to do, you need to set a new goal, one that's even more inspiring than the previous one, something that you can move towards immediately. Okay, so by actually setting this goal and moving towards it, you've got rid of the disappointment, because you're like, I'm over that, I'm now moving forward, and I'm going to do something that's even better. Realize that you may be judging the situation too soon. As we've already discussed twice before, you could be judging the situation too soon. The thing that you want to get, or the thing that you're missing out on, may not have even come yet. I'll give you an example. You might order something online. You're looking at it, it says delivery within 24 hours. Great, click, 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 buy, buy, buy. 24 hours come. Where's my package? 48 hours comes. Where's my package? Oh, I'm not going to get it. It's lost in the post. You start to feel disappointed because you feel that you're not going to get it because it's been lost. Then you go back on the website and you have a look. It's in America. You live in Australia. Ah, right, okay, yeah, it's going to have to come on a plane, and it's going to have to go to Sydney, then it's going to have to get on a little plane, and it's going to have to get in a little postman's bag, and then he's going to have to ride around on his little yellow motorbike and drop it off. So it's going to take me at least 10 days before I get it. All of a sudden the disappointment's gone because you've realised that you've judged the situation too soon and you haven't allowed things to develop. So you might need to develop a little bit more patience or read the website properly. Now, the most powerful antidote to disappointment is cultivating an attitude of positive expectancy. So if you experienced disappointment before, you need to have a look at it to take it apart to its component parts and then work out why you felt disappointed. In working it out, you can then develop a much more positive attitude towards your expectancy, so you're managing your expectations. Now, if you don't deal with your disappointment and you just leave it and let it grow, then that can be expressed in the next emotion, which is guilt. The emotions of guilt, remorse and regret are among the emotions that people will do their utmost to absolutely avoid. Nobody wants to feel guilt. They're a very painful experience for us, but they serve as a valuable function. So guilt is actually telling you that you have violated your very own, your highest standards, that you must do something immediately to ensure that you don't violate that standard again. So that's what guilt is. It's all about your own highest standards that you've got and the fact that you, as an individual, has violated them, not anybody else. So some people try to deal with guilt by denying it or suppressing it, and it doesn't work. It just keeps getting stronger. Now, like I said, you have to deal with it quite quickly. And this is why people who are incarcerated in prisons and stuff say that their guilt grows on them, because they can't actually put themselves into a situation where they know full well that they're going to be able to deal with that situation in a much better way, and to be able to experience it again, and to know that they're not going to exceed or break their very highest standards. So the guilt just stays with them, and it just burns and eats away at them all the time. So it's not a tactic that would work, would be to suppress or to ignore your feelings of guilt. The solution is, first of all, acknowledge the fact that the critical standard is for yourself. It's nobody else, it's your standard, what that standard is, and where it is on the scale of your things. Okay, like I say, it's a very high standard for you to feel guilt. And then when you've worked that out, unequivocally commit yourself at that very moment to make sure that this behavior doesn't happen again. Say to yourself, right now, I am never going to do that again. That action led to X, Y, and Z, which led me to break one of my highest standards, and I am not going to let that happen again. If we get to that situation, I'm going to do A, B, C instead of X, Y, and Z. And that is guilt. Guilt has then served its purpose because you have made the discovery of the action that you need to do, and you can let go of the guilt. You can let go of the guilt because it's served its purpose. Don't wallow in your guilt. Some people will beat themselves up mentally and emotionally because they feel that they are failing to meet their own standards over and over and over again. And these sort of people are going to experience the feeling of inadequacy next. Because they're not meeting their own standards, they feel that they're inadequate. And inadequacy is a feeling of unworthiness, and it occurs every time we feel we can't do something that we should be able to do. It's a challenge that we say. We say, I should be able to do this, but I can't. But sometimes, are we judging ourselves too harshly? That is often the case with inadequacy. We set our barriers way, way, way too high, and there is no way that we're going to achieve them. So therefore, when we fail, we feel inadequate. So the message is that you don't presently have the level of skill or understanding for the desired outcome that you need. It's telling you to go away and get more information, more training, more skills, and more understanding about that current situation. Because that's what inadequacy is. It means that you just haven't got the skills at that present moment in time to be able to achieve your desired outcome. So if you can go away and get those skills or find out more information, then that will help you get to where you need to be. Ask yourself, is it an appropriate emotion for you at that particular time? If you suddenly realise that actually, no, I'm miles away from this and I just need to go away and get some more training, or I need to acquire some more skills, you'll get rid of that feeling of inadequacy straight away because you've justified it. Let's take an example. If you feel that you can't dance, have you set yourself the standard that when you go onto the dance floor, you have to bust some shapes like Michael Jackson and own the dance floor to be a good dancer? Is that the standard you've set yourself? Because that's a pretty high standard and pretty unachievable, I would say. However, if your feeling is justified, so you've evaluated it and you said, yes, okay, I do feel justified by saying that I'm feeling inadequate at the moment, then you need to find a better way to do it. It could be that you're quite close, and just by getting a little bit of extra training or approaching it in a different direction, it will help you get there. You need to appreciate the emotion of inadequacy as your brain actually just telling you need to improve. You can do this, but you just need to step up a little bit. Okay, it's an encouraging sign from the brain. So inadequacy is encouragement from your brain. Remind yourself that not everybody is perfect. Michael Jackson, even though he was the best dancer in the world, okay, he got there through years and years and years of training and development and desire and passion. He didn't just wake up and suddenly became a good dancer. So not everybody is perfect, and not everybody gets there first time. So find yourself a role model. Find somebody who's done it before. Get a coach. A coach, just like the person like me, I'm a coach. That's what we do. We help people achieve their desired outcomes. We can coach you on feelings of inadequacy. Now, when feelings like this become persistent problems, or permanent or pervasive, and you can't get past them, okay, people tend to succumb to the feeling of overload and overwhelm. Now, this could be grief, depression, helplessness, are merely expressions of feeling overloaded and overwhelmed. They're perceived as out of your control, that you can't do anything about them, you just have to endure them until the feeling passes. The problem is just too big. Has anybody experienced this before? I know I have. All of a sudden you think, oh, whoa, no way am I going to be able to deal with this lot. And you just lock yourself down, hunker down, put your head down, and think it'll all go away. Alright? Really, the message is that you need to reevaluate what's most important. Out of all the things that you are currently dealing with, what is the most important? The reason why you're feeling overwhelmed is because you're trying to deal with all of those things all at the same time, and you're probably thinking, I need to do this overnight as well. It's just not going to happen. So what you need to do is to think, what is your number one priority? Write them all down. Tick them off. Which one needs to be resolved straight away? What is the highest priority problem? Once you've identified that problem, start to write down ways that you can address it. And by writing it down, it's already sending signals back to your brain saying, yeah, I've got this, I'm in charge of this, I've got control, I know that this is the number one priority, and these are the steps that I'm going to take towards it. So even by writing it down on a piece of paper, you're starting to tell your brain, yep, I'm on top of this, the overwhelm emotion, don't you worry about it, you can start to get rid of it now. And as soon as you start to take control, you start taking actions, you take actions on your list, so you start ticking things off, and before you know it, you're starting to take steps towards it, and you're going to master that number one problem. And once you've done that, then you can really let go of overload and overwhelm, because you've achieved it. You can say to your brain, I'm in control, this isn't overload or overwhelm anymore, I'm actually moving forward, all I need to do now is to repeat this over and over again, and we'll eventually get to the bottom of the list. This isn't a permanent state anymore, I've got it, thanks very much, you can let go of the emotion of overload and overwhelm now. And that's how you get rid of it. It's taking progressive steps and putting things into priority. Even if you haven't got it all figured out, by sorting out number one, then the others will start to fall into line. Probably the emotion that most people fear most is the feeling of disconnection, and that's known as loneliness. Anything that makes us feel alone, apart, or separate from others belongs in this category. Have you ever felt really alone? I don't think there is anybody, adults, who haven't felt loneliness at some point in their life, where there's a stage of a feeling of disconnect, that nobody understands them, that nobody gets them. The message of loneliness is that you need connection with people. This can be done in so many different levels. Okay, so we're not talking just intimacy, boyfriend, girlfriend, or sexual contact with anybody. It could be just a friendship, or study buddy, or something like that. So the solution is to realize that you can reach out and take control of the situation. You can go and make a connection with somebody, and that will immediately end the emotion of loneliness. Identify what sort of connection you need. Maybe it is just a study buddy. Maybe you're just struggling and you can't get your head around something that you're studying. Or it could be that you just need a friend to go and have a chat with. So give somebody a call, go out for a coffee, sort it out. Remind yourself that being lonely is actually good because you care about other people. You've got a desire to be with other people. If you didn't have a desire to be with other people, you'd be quite happy staying in all day watching daytime TV, because you wouldn't be feeling lonely. You wouldn't have that desire to be with other people. But the thing about loneliness is you need to take immediate action. You need to reach out and connect with somebody somewhere. So that's it. That is the 10 calls to action. So basically we've gone through the 10 most common emotions, and with those 10 most common emotions we've worked out exactly what it is that you could be feeling. We've also worked out the meaning of it, and also some actions that you can take to move forward to resolve that emotion. And what you can do is start to think about those emotions popping up again and how you can deal with them in the future. So you're actually future-proofing yourself. So what I'd like you to do is join me in the next webinar, where we're going to actually talk about 10 power emotions. We're going to talk about how you can cultivate your garden of emotions, the really good emotions, how you can grow them and use them to empower and enrich your life. So that's going to be in the next webinar. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm Steve Barker. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.